What's up, y'all? What's good? Welcome to the What Up Doe Show. It's your boy Dame D, and I am back with another one. What's good? What's good, everybody? What's good, y'all? Welcome to Freestyle Friday. We are back with another one. I'm gonna wait for a few people to check in. Let me check my audio and video and make sure you guys can hear me. What up, though, to everybody out there on Facebook? Whatever. What up, though, to everybody out there on Instagram and YouTube? So I'm getting ready to check my audio to make sure you guys can hear me before I start tonight's show. Oops, hold on. Let me plug it in. Yep. So how's everybody Friday going thus far? Hopefully everybody's having a great Friday and leading up to this weekend. It was a nice, hot, warm day today in the city of Detroit. What's going on, everybody? The comment section is open. Definitely need for you guys to comment. And I definitely need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Your boy's getting closer and closer each day to that 1,000 subscribers. So definitely appreciate everybody who has subscribed to the show thus far. And I need for you guys who haven't not subscribed to hit that button. Okay, so I'm checking my audio and video to make sure you guys can hear me. Give me 1 second. All right. So I'm just trying to make sure that I can be heard. All right. Okay, so we can be heard. So I'm going to go ahead and I can be heard. Stop that and come out of that. So what's going on? What up, though, to everybody out there? It's Friday night, technically Saturday morning, but this is Freestyle Friday. I'm waiting for a few more people to jump in before I start tonight's conversation. So I just want to say, what up, though? Happy Friday, everybody. Hopefully, everybody had a great Friday. We're gonna start up talking about the Spurs game, man. The Spurs New York Knicks matchup. A lot of people, including me, were surprised. I'm going for the Spurs. I'm still going for the Spurs. I thought the Spurs were going to be able to sweep New York, but New York has been surprised. Surprising everybody. Them boys balling, man. I believe they're on a 13-game winning streak. That's an NBA franchise record. But yeah, they definitely surprised me. I picked San Antonio to sweep them boys, and thus far, New York don't went down to San Antonio and sold the first two games, man. So it's very interesting. So I want to wait for a few people to jump in, and I definitely want you guys to comment, give me your thoughts on oh, what was that? I don't know what I just did. Let me close that. What the fuck I just did on that? But yeah, I need you guys to give me your opinion on that, man. New York, in my opinion, has shocked and surprised everybody. I thought San Antonio was going to pretty much run through New York. I thought New York was going to be too small. I didn't think they were going to be physical enough to be able to match up with San Antonio, but I was completely wrong. So give me you guys' opinion. I would love to hear your thoughts about that. It's been a surprising matchup. Um, and I haven't even watched. I was at work today when this game was on, so I didn't even watch it. I didn't even do the highlights yet. So I'm probably going to after I'm done with the show, I'm probably going to go back and watch the game, and that way I'll be able to break the game down. I probably should have done that before I started talking about it, but I just came right in and wanted to start this conversation today with you guys. So yeah, give me your thoughts on tonight's game, man. New York is really really doing their thing. Like I said, I was surprised that they went down there and stole that game one. And then tonight stole game two. So San Antonio, is behind the, it's behind the, behind the barrel now, man. They're down 0-2, getting ready to go back to New York. So it's going to be a tough one, but I still think this series. I thought San Antonio was going to sweep it, in my opinion. But now this series will probably go 7. Because I can't see San Antonio getting swept. All the from the round from how they just played in that OK series. Surprising that New York was able to come down to San Antonio and steal those games. And I just give my hats off to those guys. I'll give my hats off to the coach. The coaching staff has done a great job thus far keeping New York ready. Because I thought the long layoff was going to be a problem for New York, but apparently it was not. They were able to rest guys up, and they, like I said, came down there. Game one, stole that, and game two went down there and took that. So New York is looking right, man. They sitting in the driver's seat right now. Getting ready to head back to New York up to zip with 2 games in New York. Yep. So it's going to be an interesting series. See if anybody's up and want to come in. But yeah, New York, man. Your boy Bronson has been balling. Towns, he's been looking decent. And I'll just be honest. I didn't think New York were going to be physical enough. I didn't think they were going to be a big enough team to be able, to withstand, the dominance of San Antonio. Man, it's like I said, I would have bet the house that San Antonio would have won, game one, and it surprised me. Okay, let me send them send something out to homeboy Joe. See what Joe got up for the day. So, but yeah, man. If you guys want to come in and join the conversation and come up here on the stage, I put your email in the comment section. I'll be able to bring you guys up right now. I'm sending out a few links, inviting a few people who want to come in and hold a conversation with your boy tonight. But yeah, man, New York is looking good. I guarantee you they fucked up a lot of money for people who's been betting. Because who would have thought New York would have came down there and won game one, and then coming into game two, you would have thought San Antonio would have been, prepared. They would have been ready for what New York had in game two, and went out there and won game two and was ready to go back to New York all tied up, but instead it was the other way around. New York came out, won game two, and getting ready to head back to New York for let me see now. All right, send the big Ken a link out. When I'm sending Q Nitty a link out. If you up Q Nitty, I'm about to send you a link and you see this. But yeah, man, like I said, it's been very surprising to me thus far. I did not think New York was a big enough, physical enough team to be able, to withstand the how deep San Antonio is and how big they are. But surprisingly, like I said, I'm going to go and watch game two after this, watch the highlights, and see where San Antonio went wrong. And then I would love to see how the game was called by the referees. Okay, so I sent out a few invites. And but yeah, I can't wait to go and see the highlights. Like I said, I watched the end of the game. I did not watch the whole game. I was on my way home from work watching the game, driving. So, I was not able to break it down like I normally break it down. But New York, man, them boys they're for real. I did not think New York was big enough or physical enough to be able to withstand San Antonio's attack. So it's going to be different. It's going to be interesting going back to New York to see how in game three how the Spurs will come back out and react, because I'll tell you this, if they go down and lose game three, pretty much that series, New York will smell blood, the blood will be in the water, and them boys are going to come out and attack. But for the most part, I still have faith in San Antonio. I think they'll go down there and at least steal one of those 2 games in San Antonio, come back, win that game in San Antonio, then probably bring it back to New York, steal that game, and come back for game 7. Because what's been going on, the league has been trying to stretch a lot of these games out to game 7. New York, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, they're on a 13-game winning streak, so they swept the last 2 series, and San Antonio is on that same verge, So, like I said, it's going to be a very interesting matchup going back to I mean, it's going to be a pretty interesting game going back to New York is what I was trying to say. So, but like I said, I have to go and watch game 2 and break it down and see where San Antonio went wrong. I think they had like a 14-point lead, blew that. And then like I said, I don't know how the refs were calling this game, if the refs had anything involved in keeping New York in these games. Because I'll be honest, man, I've lost interest since mine, and I still watch the games. I like San Antonio, don't get me wrong, but I've lost a lot of interest. Okay, so we do have a comment. Since my Detroit Pistons been knocked out. What up, OG Kicks? What's good with you? Give me your thoughts on tonight game, man. What do you think? Do you think San Antonio will be able to go back, go down to New York and steal a game, maybe two, and bring it back to San Antonio? But first and foremost, they need to get a game. Give me your thoughts on this matchup. Who are you going with to win this series, and what do you think? Yep. So, like I said, New York is looking good. I wasn't rooting for New York. They some arrogant, group of motherfuckers. And I'm not talking about the team is just New York itself. Don't get me wrong. There's some good people from New York. But New Yorkers are some very arrogant um fans, I should say. They were talking a lot of shit, but for the most part, the Knicks has backed up, the fan talk. So, but yeah, like I said, I have to go back and break down game two. I did have not had a chance to look at that tonight. I just came straight in and went live. Koji Kick said, I believe New York will win, but the Spurs will get one for sure. Yeah, I think so. The Spurs really now what they have to do is just they definitely have to go down there and get game three. They cannot, they're already by, like I said, behind the barrel down 0-2, getting ready to go back to New York for the next two games. So they have to go down there and get game three for off the top. And I think if they go down there and get that, it'll be a very interesting game four. Because at the end of the day, like I said, the lead has been stretching a lot of these games out to game seven, and I think it's good it'll be good for the league to see a game seven. But OG Kick said win. He's going. He believed that New York is going to get that win. But I'm still riding with San Antonio. I think they'll come down there and get that game three. And even if they don't win game four, they can go back to San Antonio for game five, get that win, and then come back and at least try to steal one more that game six in New York and come back and close it at home. OG Kick said if New York sweep the Spurs, that will be impressive. Yes. It'll be an NBA record. I believe they're already on a 13-game winning streak, which is an NBA record already. So, yeah. They're looking for real, man. I thought New York was just a bunch of softies over there. I didn't think they were going to be able to match up. I didn't think they were going to be able to be physical or handle the physicalness from San Antonio, I should say. But they've proved me wrong. They've done everything. And don't get me wrong, Bronson, man, he's been on fire. I think he's turned himself into, I'm not going to say it. Well, we know he's New York franchise player, but he has turned himself into one of the top elite guards, in the game today. And he can solidify that by winning a championship, and that'll put him, on a whole different stage, and than a lot of other point guards that's in the league who has not won a championship. Same thing with Michael Towns. A lot of people thought that he was soft, that he would never be able to bring a championship wherever he was at, especially I believe when he was in Minnesota. But he's turned his whole game around. Okay, it's 15 straight wins. Yeah, 15 straight wins would be crazy. Yeah, to close it out, to close out the championship. OG Kicks. Yeah, man, it's definitely been an interesting these first two games with New York, just surprising everybody. But OG Kick said Bronson, no question, the best guy in the East by far right now. He is. Yep. But and what I'm still like I said, I'm a Detroit Pistons fan. I'm still upset how the Pistons lost to Cleveland and how Cleveland just went down there and just blew, and just got swept. I'm still sick from that. So like I said, man, I've been watching the games, but I've lost a lot of interest in it. I am a San Antonio fan. I do, and even in San, which I still have faith. I think they will, and I won't say that. I have faith in San Antonio. I think they can go down there and steal game three, and then they can make a series out of that once they get that game three. But like I said, man, I was just saying like how Wemby has turned himself into a superstar. I think after this year, he'll probably, win the most valuable player for the next three years or more. Because no one does what this man does. When he first came in the league, I didn't think he was going to be as fast. I didn't think he was going to have that much agility that he has. And did not think that he was going to have that jump shot that he has, but proved me wrong. He's turned into, a superstar. OG Kick said, "Bro, Detroit one or two pieces away." I agree, man. We shot ourselves in the foot in that Cleveland series. We did not show up in Game 7, but I won't take nothing away from Cleveland. It just hurt me to see how New York did Cleveland. I think we would have gave New York a better challenge than what Cleveland did. But yeah, at the end of the day, man, New York has showed me that you really don't have to be physical to win a NBA championship. Because San Antonio is the more physical, the more dominant team. And New York is just beating them with finesse, and really with that three ball. Them boys on fire. So yeah, your boy Bronson, man, he's definitely has turned himself into a superstar. And if they can pull this win out, they can pull this championship out, man. They'll probably redo his whole contract. Because he's been like he scorched us in the playoffs last year, man. That's why I just knew that we were going to get past Cleveland and be able to match up with New York because of what they did to us last year. But I was wrong, man. New York is on fire. I know Stephen A. Smith is loving this. But I agree with you, OG Kicks. Detroit is one or two pieces away. And I'll say maybe two pieces. We're going to need another big man. That way we'll be able to move our center over to small forward because Durham, man, he's really not a center. He's really a power forward that's been playing center undersized. Yeah. OG Kicks, man, are you subscribed to the channel? If not, please hit that subscribe button. Your boy is closing down on 1,000 subscribers. It's a goal that we set out over here, and we are bearing down on it. I need each and everybody. And then for everybody that's over on Facebook that's watching this channel, please come over here to YouTube, hit that subscribe button for your boy. We should have been at 1,000 subscribers, a while ago, but we're bearing down, we're closing down on it. Yeah, but it's definitely been a surprising um NBA playoffs for me. I did not think New York was gonna I didn't think they were gonna get out of that first round, but they surprised me. Came back because I believe they lost what, maybe the first two games and then came back, won the next four and then swept the next two rounds, so they're looking good, man. They're definitely, a good team. I will not take anything away from them. I just did not think, that they would be able to be physical enough to match up with San Antonio. But, I was wrong. San Antonio, the coaches are going to have to go back to the drawing board, and draw up another game plan because thus far, what they've done thus far has not worked. They're down 0-2. And like I said, I don't know how the refs were calling the game. I don't know if the refs allowed New York to stay in the game. So like I said, after this show, I probably will go back and watch the highlights and watch the game and to get a better feel on game two. Yeah, because and they had a chance to win it at the end too. I think if the coach could draw up that play again, they would draw it up different. And have a better shot selection. But yeah, man, I need for everybody to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Again, your boy is closing down on a thousand subscribers. I cannot do it without you guys hitting that subscribe button. So again, I need everybody that's on Facebook, everybody that's watching on Instagram to come over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button. Because we have a lot of people over on Facebook that's watching the show now. and it will help me out if you guys would just take your time and just to come over here to YouTube real quick and hit that button for your boy. Yep. So hopefully everybody's having a great Friday. Technically it's Saturday, but this is how we do it every Friday, Freestyle Friday. Yep. So I just want to come in and talk about that for a little bit. I'm going to switch the subject for a second and talk about and let me pull this up. So give me 1 second. I want to talk about I want to hold on, give me 1 second. I want to talk about this situation with and I don't want to get his name wrong, so give me 1 second. I'm trying to find this video that I did. So give me 1 second. Okay, yeah. I want to talk a little bit about the situation with Cyrus Carmack, the young man who was shot in the back by the store owner, by the and I forget what race he was. I think he was Chinese or maybe well, anyway, the store owner who shot the young man in the back who was found not guilty. And I just want to talk about that for a second before I end tonight's show, because it's it baffles me, that the justice system has still been failing us. I'm just going to keep it real and just be honest. The justice system is not failing us. It's designed to do what it's been doing. And I just don't understand. Well, I do understand what's really been going on. And I want you guys' opinion. This young man was running out of a store. How could the jury not understand and not see that? And then even with the autopsy, it said he was in a running position. He was shot in the back. How is that not murder? How can you fear? How can you fear for your son's life when he's chasing and following a young man out of the store? I just didn't understand that. So at the end of the day, man, we have to do a better job in getting our own justice. And like I said, I don't want to, and I don't mean that in trying to promote violence or anything like that, but we have to come up with another or better solutions at trying to get our justice for our own selves, whatever that may be, because the court system is not going to give us the justice, in situations like that we want. Same thing with the whole it was with the Ryan Hidden incident, the young man who was shot in the back from running from the police. Just because you're running from the police does not mean that you deserve to die. We have several instances where we did shows on young black men who were shot in the back and died. And when this went to court, these juries, and that's something that we got to get on top of, man. We have to do a better job. We have to get out there and register, because what's really going on, and what went on with that case, man, the jury did not look like, I'm just going to be honest, it was an all white jury. And most of these juries are all white juries. So when we're going against situations like that, it's almost 100%, that we're not going to walk away with a verdict that we want. So we have to do our job and do our due diligence on trying to get people, registered to vote. I mean, not registered to vote, but registered to be on these juries. Because that's what's going on. We're not being judged by our peers. Kind of and what I mean is that we're not being judged by our own people. We're being judged by people that really don't like us, and want to see us fail or want to see verdicts like this. Because like I said, I've done multiple shows this year and last year of like with the whole Ryan Hidden situation. How could they not find these cops guilty? Like I said, at the end of the day, man, what's the system is not broken. It's designed to do exactly what it's been doing. So we're gonna have to try to find a way to be able to find our own justice, in these situations. And that's it. Because we have allowed these court I'm not going to say we have allowed, but these courts systems are pretty much predominantly white. They're set up for for majority of whites, especially when it's a racial thing, for us not to win. And that's just the honest to God truth. How could the jury even, and then another thing, man, I think that it should have been a mistrial. The jury were ready to leave. The judge had to make them go back in. And they had a hard time coming to the decision that they came to. And I talked with a few people about that. I'm going to blame the judge too. Because actually the prosecutor, they should have had Trump multiple charges like how they do us. They'll put a thousand fucking charges to make sure that at least one stick. So the mother and father of this young man, they're just crushed. I couldn't believe the situation. I couldn't believe the verdict, I should say. But at the end of the day, man, we have to be able to change these situations. We have to be able to get more black people, in these jurors, when we're being judged, in situations like that. Because at the end of the day, this court system is not set up for us to win. And that's it. Especially in situations like this. So I just wanted to come in and talk about that for a second. I think that was a very unjust situation. Hopefully his parents will be able to file civil suits and sue the fuck out of that restaurant owner. But us as blacks, man, we have to be able to shut stores. Well, and I apologize. He was a store owner. We have to be able to shut stores and restaurants down like this that do these things to our people and get away with that. This man got away with cold-blooded murder. There's no way that he should have been able to get away with that, through the courts or just in general. We allow for people to shoot us in the back and get away with it through the court systems, and that's it. If it was on if the shoe was on the other foot, it would be totally different, because we see how different it is when we try to do things the right way and try to handle it through the justice system and still end up getting the the bad end of the stick, or raw deal, I should say. This young man this young man did nothing wrong. They tried to say he had a gun, did not have a gun. There was no gun, no firearms found on that man. And from the video, it looked like he picked something up, put it back down, and kindly walked out the store. Um, and this young man was shot in the back, and this all white jury found him not guilty. And it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace to his family. It should be a disgrace to our race, that we can continue to see black men shot in the back, and their shooters are found not guilty. So like I said, man, we're gonna have to come up with some solution on how we can get our justice. Yep. So I'm definitely gonna have a panel come back, and we may even do that tomorrow. I may even put a panel together tomorrow and talk about this a little bit more. Because it needs to be talked about. We need to keep conversations like this going. Because like the lawyer said, from what the jury just did, they just made it seem like it's open season on shooting blacks in the back and getting away with it. Yeah. Because I don't understand how he felt that he was protecting his son when his son followed this young man out of the store. If you're scared or you're trying to protect this young man, had no threat for his life at all. So at the end of the day, man, we know what it is. It's been the same plays that's been running since the beginning of time. We just have to wake up as a group of people. We've been brainwashed through, I'm just going to be honest. We've been brainwashed from a lot of things that has been given to us through religion. And we allow things like this to go on. We continue to turn the other cheek, when they continue to continue doing the things that's been going on and that's been happening to our people, and we just we sit back and allow it. So look, I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. It's been Freestyle Friday, man. I just want to come in and talk about that San Antonio New York game, man. New York is on a mission. Look like these boys are trying to make it happen. So and I'm not no New York fan, and I will be honest. I'm Detroit all day long, and I do like San Antonio, So I'm rooting for San Antonio, But at the end of the day, I'm an honest sports fan, and I keep it real. New York look like they're on a mission, But at the end of the day, man, it's we have a long ways to go. New York definitely have to go down there and get game 3. If I mean San Antonio has to come back and get game 3. If they cannot get game 3, the series is pretty much over. So what is today? Friday. So game 3 should be Sunday. So it's going to be a pretty interesting game 3. Should be really, really good. The ratings actually should be off the charts for game 3. Yep. So yeah, man, like I said, tomorrow I probably will try to put some type of live panel together to talk a little bit about, this situation. And let me not get with Cyrus Carmack and the whole Rick Child situation. Because there's no way that this jury should have not found Rick Child guilty. So, and at the end of the day, and I'm going to do a little bit more research too on that jury, and I believe it was an all-white jury, and there's no way, if it was that Carmack's lawyers should allow that. They should have been able to have some type of color, but this is what goes on throughout America. We're always up against all-white juries. Therefore they're not going to have any sympathy for our people, so we have to do a better job at trying to, even out this fucking jury system, because that's what's going on. These all white jurors are not having sympathy for our people, and you can't have a group of motherfuckers up there that don't have sympathy, because they're gonna come back, against our people every fucking time, and it. So look, I'm not going to hold you guys up. It's been another one. And like I said, we're definitely going to talk a little bit more about this probably tomorrow. This is something that's been, on my heart. It hurts me to see another black man shot in the back and no one's held responsible. That's horrible. So look, I'm not gonna hold you guys up. I just want to come in real quick, talk about the San Antonio game, and then just speak a little bit about this whole Rick Child thing being found not guilty. But look, it's another one. It's your boy Dame D, and I am out. And please make sure you guys over on Facebook, come over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button. I cannot do it without you guys, and I've been doing it with you guys. So I want to thank everyone who's hit that subscribe button thus far. Continue to share, and I want to thank OG Kicks for his comments in the comment section today. It's been another one. It's your boy Dame D, and I am out. Peace.